Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily knit these sneaker sports socks. They go really fast. You can actually, I'll just say within a week. If you knit comfortably in the evenings, you can make them really quickly. You'll need a set of double-pointed needles in size 2.5 and matching yarn. I used the Cotton Light color yarn from Strong Wool. I'll show you how the sneaker socks work in a moment. You begin your work by casting on 56 stitches. 56 stitches are for size 37 to 38. I'll show you the other sizes on screen. The cast on works like this. I always use 2 needles because it just becomes a bit wider at the beginning. I personally like that better. You insert here, pull the yarn to the front, now go through this loop on the thumb. Bring the yarn from above to your index finger, then pull the yarn through the loop on your thumb, and you've cast on the first 2 of 56 stitches. Now it'll get easier. Again through the loop, at the index finger, through the thumb loop, 3rd stitch. Once you've cast on 56 stitches, or your required number of stitches, I'll show you how to proceed. Once you've cast on the required number of stitches, pull 1 needle out and distribute the stitches across the 4 needles. For sizes 37 and 38, there are 14 stitches on each needle. I'm already knitting that, specifically in the single rib. That's also the pattern for the leg. That means you always alternate a knit stitch and a purl stitch. It's that simple. You start with a knit stitch. That means you insert the needle here from the front, grab the yarn and pull it back through the stitch, a knit stitch. Next, you purl a stitch. That means yarn to the front of the needle. You insert the needle from front to back through the stitch. Grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch. Purl stitch, always slip, 1 knit stitch, 1 purl stitch the whole row. Stitches in size 37, 38. You just take the next needle and just keep knitting. After you've distributed your stitches onto the needle, your work should look like this. Got another little tip here, especially for beginners. I always knit the first needle, and the 4th needle I still knit 2 stitches onto the 4th needle to close the work. So, the next 15 rounds, that's the complete leg, are really simple. We're continuing to knit our 1 by 1 rib. Means always alternating a knit stitch and a purl stitch. Like this, as they appear. I'll get a bit closer. You can see pretty clearly here what a knit stitch is. I'll pull it. If you look closely at the stitch underneath here, you'll see it's a knit stitch. Whereas, with the purl stitch, there's that little bump again. For comparison, knit stitch, purl stitch. Like with white, you can see it pretty well too. Knit, and next to it the purl stitch. Always knit the knit stitches and purl the purl stitches. 15 rounds left now. Then your work up here should look like this. Until then, have fun and we'll see each other again. After you've knitted the 15 rounds, your work should look something like this. You have a nice elastic cuff, and you now simply knit with the 4th needle, the one here, the stitches from the 1st needle as they appear. So, 1 round knit, purl in alternation. We're actually starting the heel now. For this, we only need 3 needles for now, because we're going to knit the heel up. So, 1 less needle. You turn the work around because we're only knitting this needle now. The other 2 are resting. In the first round of our heel cap, you purl every stitch, including the first and the last stitch. As I said, quickly purl the last stitch like that. Then turn your work back over and knit the whole row. Now repeat that as many times as you have stitches on the needle. So for sizes 37 to 38, you'll now knit 14 rounds up. We'll meet again after the 14th round then. Okay, you've knit your 14 rounds. The next rounds won't get any harder either. Always on the purl round, I call it, where we purl the first 2 and the last 2 stitches together now. It's really simple. I'll show it to you quickly. You insert, just like for a purl stitch. Just that you go through both stitches, so then pick up the yarn and pull it through both stitches. You've already made 1 purl stitch out of 2 purl stitches. Purl the rest of the row as usual, except for the last 2 stitches, which you also purl together. So, with the last 2 stitches, you do the same. Again, bring the yarn to the front of the needle. Pass the needle through both stitches. Bring the yarn and pull it through both stitches. 2 purl stitches became 1. Then turn again. On the right side, you work all the stitches as they appear, just like normal, without decreasing, and from now on, you always work the first on the wrong side both, and purl the last 2 stitches together. You do that as often until there are only as many stitches left on this needle as on the other 2. That means, in size 37 to 38, 14 stitches. Your work should look like this now. Next, we need to pick up stitches again to finish our cap heel here. This is the only part that's a bit trickier with these otherwise very simple sneaker socks. It works like this. You now pick up a stitch here at every other stitch. That means we're going right into the first stitch here. That prevents a hole, and then we insert the needle here again from bottom to top into the next stitch. Make sure you really catch the yarn all the way. So then you skip a stitch again and go into the next one again, basically into the one after that. Now you do the whole row. Heads up, it can be a bit snug sometimes, but that's not a problem at all, because then you'll simply have no holes afterwards. When you've reached the bottom and picked up the stitches, just knit them. Like I said, don't be surprised. They're often a bit tight right now, but that way we'll have no holes in our heel. Once you've knit all the picked up stitches, we basically just continue here with our old stitches. Here, I'd always be careful to knit fairly tightly, so you avoid a hole here as well. Then we'll just knit the next 2 needles, knitting every stitch. Here, we do the same, just the other way. We're picking up every other stitch again. Insert tightly here and into every other stitch. Always insert the needle from bottom to top into the stitch. Next, you knit the picked up stitches again knitwise. Now you've still got your 14 stitches here. Now you knit the first 7 onto this heel flap and the other 7 go here too. That means we knit 7 more stitches now before we change the needle. We're changing the needle, knitting the next 7 stitches and just continue this heel flap here. Knit all stitches until the last 2 stitches, which will then knit together. I'll show you in a moment how that's done. It's really simple too. Similar to when we purl stitches together, we actually knit them like a normal knit stitch. Just that we're not inserting into the first stitch, but into the back. At the beginning a bit tight, then knit the 2 stitches together as a knit stitch. So, and you've already knit 2 stitches together. We knit the next 2 needles again as usual, all knit stitches, on the At the beginning of our 4th needle, we knit the first 2 stitches together. Insert again into the back loop through both stitches, pull the yarn through, and 2 knit stitches became 1. On the remaining needle, we knit all the stitches again. The next round, I'll tell you in a moment, will be really easy too. There, you just knit every stitch around. In the next one after that, I'll explain it to you in a moment, so you knit again in. On the first needle, the last 2, and on the 4th needle, the first 2 stitches together. That always means 1 round, all stitches knit. On the first needle, knit the last 2 stitches together, and on the last needle, knit the first 2 stitches together. So that your heel grows nicely and evenly here. Keep doing that until you have the same number of stitches on all the needles. Means, in size 37, 38, 14 stitches per needle, like at the beginning. Until then, have fun. Your work should by now look like this. Now it really gets quite easy. You just keep knitting only knit stitches until you've reached the required length for the foot. In size 37, 38, it's about here, measured from the heel edge, 13 centimeters. Little tip, if you knit a different size, it's like this. You can feel free to try it out, and if you knit a different size, you can just try the sock on, and if it goes over the little toe, the foot, you can start with the toe. Until then, relax while knitting and have fun. Your sock should by now look roughly like this. If you've knitted the foot to the required length, that is in my case in size 37, 38, about 14 centimeters, here from the heel edge, appropriately. You can already start with the toe. It's really easy too. The important thing here is to start with your first needle, that's this one as seen from the heel. And you just knit all the stitches as they appear, except for the last two. We'll knit them together. I'll show you that in a moment. When you reach the last two stitches, knit them together. It's really simple. You don't insert into the first stitch, but into the back loop. Go through the front loop. Pick up the yarn and knit these two stitches as one knit stitch. You've already made one stitch out of two. On the second needle, we'll do that with the first two stitches. That means we're again not taking the first stitch, but the second stitch, inserting as for a knit stitch through both stitches. Pick up the yarn and pull it through both through. We've already knit two stitches together again. On the remaining needle, you knit the knit stitches as they appear. The third needle, like the first needle, that is the odd-numbered needle, you knit the last two stitches together again. Insert into the last two stitches from the back again, go through both stitches, pull the yarn through, knit. The fourth needle is a straight needle again, so we knit the first two stitches together again. Always alternate knitting the last two stitches and the first two stitches together. I'll show you why in a moment. The remaining needle, again, just knits the knit stitches as they appear. I'll quickly show you why we always use the odd-numbered needles, that is, the first and the third needle. Here, seen from the heel, knit the last two together. The reason is here, and on the even ones the first two, so here and here, that we then pull our toe up here nice and evenly. Otherwise they'll twist, and I personally always find that a bit uncomfortable when gaming. In the next round, just knit every stitch as it comes, so without decreases. After that, you repeat again. The first needle, knit the last two together. Then the second needle, knit the first two together. So it pulls up here, then the third needle, the odd needle, again the last two, and the fourth, the even needle, again the first two. Now repeat that alternately until you have only 6 stitches on each needle, no matter what size you're knitting. Like I said, one round, the decrease round, one round knitting all stitches as they appear, always alternating. If you still have 6 stitches on the needle, we'll see each other again. When you still have 6 stitches on each needle, your work should look something like this. You can already see it here. The toe rises up nicely and evenly, and there's also a nice subtle edge on the side. The next rounds are also really simple. You now just knit your stitches together every round. That means the first and the third needle, as before also the last 2 stitches, and on the second and fourth needle the first 2 stitches. Keep doing that until you only have 3 stitches left on each needle, again, regardless of how big you knit your sock. And then we'll see each other again. Then you can already sew the work together. See you in a bit. Your sock is now pretty much finished. Now cut the yarn, leave a little to weave in, about this much left, and then you can already weave it in. You take a needle, thread it, and start again with your first needle. Here you always insert like you're going to knit a knit stitch, and then pull the stitch off the needle. I'll show you again. Insert here, push through, pull off the needle. Now do that with all 4 needles like this. Once you've got all the stitches off the needle, turn your sock around and push the needle through the hole that formed at the front here. Turn the sock over with the needle, push the needle through, pull it a little tight, and now sew in the yarn end. Pull it nice and tight, so there's no hole at the front. Unpick it and just sew it in here. I personally always sew in with about 6 to 8 stitches once everything's secure. The yarn. At the top, you can sew your sock the same way. Just sew them down like I just showed at the toe. And just like that, I'll show you the result. You've knitted a sneaker sock. If you liked my video, I'd appreciate a like, and we'll see each other again in the next video. See you then.